Hello, and welcome to the presentation regarding white labeling, the positioning of your firm. Your firm is an initiative designed to allow companies like yours in different professional services sectors to integrate into initially financial planning and multiple other arms. It is designed to allow you to capitalize of what you have built into different verticals to ensure not only a stickier client, but a larger equity and cash flow source and a better service offering for your client. In terms of today's agenda, what we're going to go through, we're going to start with our firm's history, how we came to be in this particular point, and our learnings that brought us here and how they affect you. We're going to go through white labeling and compare that to the conventional JV. We're going to go into a lot of detail around what's actually involved on your part, what you're going to have to do to be able to build this company as an add-on to your own. And we're going to go also through the process assigned with that. It's also important to actually understand what the revenue component is like for a financial planning based industry compared to alternate ones, and go through some equity points as well and how that's actually calculated. Finally, I'm going to talk about the pricing, the splits, the conventional aggregator splits that are associated with our license, as well as the admin fees, which we'll talk through in a lot more detail. After that, I'm going to basically allow you to ponder and ask some questions and talk through the next steps about what it takes to actually put this into implementation. So, hopefully this won't take too long. Let's get through it as quickly as possible. Our firm's history, the expression from humble beginnings, is basically an understatement. We started from scratch with the idea to have more advice to more individuals. The key focus was to target the everyday Australian and build them to high net worth individuals as opposed to targeting a high net worth client base. So the whole key focus of us was how do we work out how to monetize a less than wealthy market. Financial planning traditionally has a key focus on high net worths because essentially that's where the money is. The only way we could figure out how to do this was to establish a scale-based financial planning. Scale-based and financial planning don't generally go together because generally there's a conflict in the amount of quality you can provide. So we took it offline and we decided how do we actually make this a viable solution. What we ended up with is a system that allowed people to do what they do best. Our financial planners were qualified, educated and trained personality project managers. What that means, they have the personality to connect with a client individual. And they have the project management skills to ensure the plan gets across the line in a timely manner of the highest quality. But beyond that, a team took care of their services. There was a research team, a strategy team, an implementation team, a compliance team, a paraplanning team, and every single level we were audited. What this meant is we had consistency in strategy, consistency in compliance research. Because the strategy people were doing only strategy. They would see 30 to 40 new clients a week, and all those 40 different clients were essentially designed by people whose full-time job was to see strategy. Where the average financial planner would do 10 new strategies a year, they were doing 40 a week, all quite unique. We developed a strategy team based on different experience set. People who focus on Centrelink, people who focus on shares and equities, property, mortgages. Every single person had a specialty and they brought them together for the best interest of the client. This ensured that our quality remained at the highest standard, but also maintained the fact that we can actually now have a scale-based offering, which means we can go to market to the everyday Australian. This is extremely important based on how this model works and how it's a part of you. Off the back of that, the next question was how do we generate the scale? How do we then build to generate the scale in order to facilitate the admin service that we've already built? We started with online. We did extremely well with online. We were averaging 12 to 1400 leads a week. From that, we would choose 5 to 600, but the market then changed when people caught on to how effective this was as a campaign. The leads started dying off, so we started doing joint ventures. Joint ventures essentially meant we'd go into a practice, we would see their register of their old clients, whether it be accounting or mortgage broking firms, and call through them, sign the clients up, and have 50-50 split as association with that practice. So instead of building one really large practice, we got to the point where we had 46 small to medium practices. It worked effectively, but we had some substantial learnings at JBs, which we'll talk about later. And having worked in JBs for the last 6 years, we found their nature a bit unsustainable. From there, we shifted to white labels. Essentially a less sophisticated form of what we're doing today with you guys. A white label was simple. You would walk into a firm, ABC Legal. You'd walk in, they'll have an arm saying ABC Financial Planning. You would walk into that firm, you would be greeted by a financial planner. The research, strategy, implementation will be done by that planner. Everything outwardly looks like it's a form of ABC Legal. But on the crux of everything, it was our firm that was always underneath. This allowed the company to have a bigger brand awareness. This allowed the company to have a higher revenue share and also have a decent equity share because they own the brand. We were basically the glove that fit in the back, done the rest of the work. And then we did an equity sell-off. We had grown to the point of having 76 staff at a national level. What we realized at this point is we wished to empower more planners to do what we wanted to do. The best mechanism of doing that is to build a license. So we sold substantial amounts of equity. That means client registers around the country so that we can then bring back the focus of our firm and establish some great softwares and build as a mechanism for support as opposed to just being a financial planning mechanism. Our financial planning arm operates as a training facility. Advisor Academy operates within our practice. Our practice is designed to get the highest caliber of individuals who are motivated to make an impact in this world and transfer them to become financial planners with the support of our back-end process. This is the same process that you'll be invited into. Along the path, we learnt the value of a fair deal. Not just in terms of the client, but in terms of our joint venture providers, in terms of our white labels, in terms of all of our lead providers. We understood the way to maximize our growth, bring out the best in our outcome, was to have a system that was fair and profitable to both parties. We no longer tried to negotiate based on equity, based on our work. What we did was worked on our back office to ensure that you would have a cheaper offering time and time again to make sure your business could flow and be as successful as ours at every single level. Our direction of business changed. We are now a license looking to empower different verticals of this professional service industry to get into the financial planning industry. We're trying to limit the barriers of entry. We are trying to support the everyday practices to achieve their goals and their intentions. Let us show you how. So quickly, I just want to explain the differences between a white label and a conventional JV. I assume most of you at the end of this have tried to do a deal with a financial planner in the past and probably understand where things fall apart, but let me clarify. First part is equity. In our history, we have made it a point never to offer equity as part of our joint venture arrangements. Profit shares? Absolutely. Client return investment? Absolutely. Pay per lead, pay per meeting? 100%. But equity is what we worked for. That's what we kept. So we, first and foremost, decided to offer equity compared to not having equity. And that's not a little bit of equity, all of it. As a license, our job is to empower you to build a practice which you own. If you built it, you own it. We own none of it. Next is revenue share. Now, how many practices have been given $1,000 a client, $1,500 a client, or 30% or 40% of insurance revenue? Revenue is yours. You earned it, you get it. Your client, you control the shots. The client comfort component. Now, this is where the sustainability part comes in. You may have an amazing relationship with a client, but as soon as you pass that client on to a third party, you're at the mercy of the third party's professionalism, capacity, and ability to connect with the client to get some success. If this is ineffective, not only does that client ruin their relationship with the client, but they ruins your relationship with the client. Because if you sent them, you're at fault. Now, this is not common. If you've done your due diligence and made sure the practice owner or the practice person has got the systems in place to ensure the client's smooth transition. But it is out of your control. Practice owner may not be the person doing the meetings. The person may have had a bad day and pissed off the wrong client. There are lost clients always in this process because no one's going to take care of your clients like you do. A lead and a client is a different thing. If it's your client, it's someone else's lead, a lead is treated just like that as a sales opportunity. Then you have to respect that because you once treated the lead like that in the same respect. But if it's just an opportunity, then you're not going to fight for it. But a client, you'll fight tooth and nail for in the trenches. Again, the big difference between the white label and the conventional JV is the brand focus. A joint venture focuses on my brand. You're referring to my practice. So the brand focus has shifted, it's gone away. The stickiness is no longer there. If you're the accounting firm and then you have the financial planning firm under your own brand, then a multifaceted practice where the core focus is the same direction for the client. But if you are referred to me, then it's my brand you see, it's my association you see, it's my drive, my mission, my client value proposition, which can often overrule your position. If I'm the key driver of the future, and as an accountant, you've mainly had the position regarding a tax situation for whatever reason, I'm not saying that's the only position, but the client's perspective, if I make an investment recommendation, that can come back against your other recommendations. And the client will be in a position to basically understand whether the integrity of the accountant is better, the financial planner is better, and if the strategy makes sense, then there could be a rift in the focus. But one brand, one owner of the brand, one direction for the client, no conflicting interest. Last is the equity calculation. Now I'm going to go through this later in another slide, but the simple point is a normal accounting firm has a multiple of 0.8. A mortgage broker firm is 2.7. When you make an accounting client and a financial planner go together, an average financial planning firm's multiple is 3.2 times recurring revenue. So 3.2 and a 0.8 times revenue makes that client not worth 4, but 4.3 because it adds a stickier focus to that client. If they're multifaceted, multidisciplined, that client is a lot more aligned to your brand, to your base, and it's a lot harder for them to leave, increasing the value of that client to a prospective buyer. Whereas if you don't own that equity, like a normal JV, and it's just a revenue source done from a referral, then that does not consider in your book. That has no calculation equity force, and you walk away with nothing. What's involved? Very simply, we are making you a financial planning practice. We are adding this onto your business. And whether it's yourself or someone within your practice that you want to qualify for that purposes, we have to get you qualified. Now, most accountants, you have the benefit of already having a diploma in financial planning. But for those who don't, you're going to need it anyway for self-managed super funds. So that's the qualification you need to get started. Now, there's a master's degree qualification for 2019. But in fairness, I'm sure the majority of you, if not already have your CPA or CPL, there's firms like the Fellow Chartered Practicing Financial Planner and Certified Financial Planner, a course similar to both which can qualify you for that next qualification. When you start working towards that qualification, with the support of your peers who are also going through this, you'll be working together to get this done across the line with an expedient amount of time, because once you finish that qualification, you go to the Internal Advisor Academy. We have designed this Advisor Academy for the time pool. I totally get that you don't have time to go leave your business and go 3 to 4 hours a day at my office learning everything that I've got to know and learning everything that my team has to know. So we release videos, daily videos. Some of them go for half an hour. These ones will go for the whole week. They're about the strategy focus of what we do. Your job is to understand how they work, how to present them, but you're never going to really do the calculations, only to check our numbers in the statement of advice. A new video released daily or weekly, depending on the scale of the video. And these will generally go for 5 minutes a pop to constantly improve your process. You'll be taught how to use our app and our software, which I'm going to go through in a bit of detail. But essentially, while you're doing your work, you'll start your morning with a 5-10 minute video, understanding exactly what we're trying to teach you. This is stuff that you can cross over into your actual practices. This is sales training, neuro-linguistic programming training, skill sets that can allow you to add on in terms of your mortgage business and accounting business. Some stuff you may know, some stuff you may not. So the whole point is to give you the facility to learn your game in your own time. So by the time you've completed your qualification in DFP, you're ready for action. The training support is ongoing. So as much as you're doing your videos and doing some face-to-face time, we're going to be tuning based on every single meeting. Our software allows us to track exactly where in the meeting the client may or may not have been lost. So as that has happened, we then basically look to train and adjust the situation to get to that point. Our company's close rate is close to 87 to 88% across the board. This is what we need to replicate within your businesses on a face-to-face level of financial planning. We're going to demonstrate case by case how to get it happening and constantly tune and support you to maximize your revenue within your business and how to actually grow it out in line with your actual core business. Our software and our app is quite unique. We put $1.6 million into an app that allows you to run each financial planning meeting to the highest level. Every meeting I was ever in the last 4 years, I recorded with the permission of the client, of course. After recording that client, I set them to get a massive flowchart made. The developers basically developed a flowchart which asked every question I ever asked a client, and off that, every response I ever got in those years of working. With those responses, we started to see overlaps of constant questions I asked, but a different variance of client responses. The next question on the sales front is to actually understand how would I answer these questions to get the best possible outcome. From that, we developed an app which had 12,600 variables based on the client's goals and objectives. It focused not only on strategy, not only on uncovering the goals that the client wanted, but it focused on the psychology of selling. It took our close rate from 37% to 87% in the matter of months. But beyond that, what it did is it actually presented a template that someone can go in and actually get the right questions answered for the best interest of the client. This app feeds into our CRM, which actually improves the process of getting that app across the line for the client's best interest. The software is then designed for you to track the client, improve the client's best position, and to ensure the client is always taken care of from the highest level. Your company is only as good as your processes, and as long as we're growing this firm out, you can't be at the core of everything. You need the support of software, of technology to make sure the client is always at the highest level. The biggest barrier for entry in financial planning is always going to be compliance and admin. For every client you see, generally there's about 2 months of the work between the fact find and the statement of advice, which is the first meeting and the second meeting. That involves the research, strategy, implementation, power plan, everything which I'm going to explain in a later slide. But the compliance is the biggest part. You have about 12 hours of compliance for every single client. The second highest sued industry in the country. But there are mechanisms to stop that. Again, we operate a scale-based business which makes sure that we're at the top of ASIC's radar. So how do we make sure our process is efficient? And it's all in the compliance team. I'm going to show you exactly how we do that process, but our job, our number one priority in every level is to be at the highest level, not only strategy, but compliance. We exaggerate our compliance due diligence to make sure that nothing can go wrong. We take full responsibility of your compliance, and we'll show you exactly how we intend to do that. Also, there's option of finance options. We have a fund that can allow you to grow and acquire financial planning registers, accounting registers, mortgage broking registers that can actually support you through that mechanism of growth to grow your firm. This is something that we can talk through in detail, but it's quite unique to the marketplace That doesn't have to go towards the same lending criteria. Yes, there's an option over it, but because you run through our aggregator, we can still hold control of that revenue to make sure that we're getting paid. Now, this is not a threat, this is not anything of that nature, but trying to build your business, finance can often get in the way. You're going to pay it, so there's no real concern, but the bank's lending restrictions on all different business operations are quite tight. So having someone that understands the industry allows you to get this finance through our fund and grow your business in the way that you see fit. Last thing is property, access to property. As part of our referral network, we have a property-based arm. Commissions range depending on the property. We have 8,600 bits of stock at any point of time throughout the year. The return on investment for this is quite high, considering it's just an on-track referral, which we take care of the rest. But beyond that, it gives you access to things that no other person can do because of the amount of volume that we do as a license, as a practice. It allows you to get first bite of the pie of amazing developments that are halfway through or haven't started with substantial commissional returns and cashbacks. But again, more about that hopefully in the face-to-face situation. Process, where to? So the process for today, at the completion of this video, you will have received a Heads of Agreement expression of interest form. The Heads of Agreement would outline the particular terms that would come as part of expression of interest. So it'll talk through all the details that you would make sense of, and you'll say, Peter, this all makes sense, or it doesn't, whatever it may be. When you've done that expression of interest forms, we put you in touch to get the DFP done. And we have a supplier who does the DFP at a substantial rate, substantially cheaper rate, and that's because of our long-term history to get together. Sorry, words aren't working too well right now. There's two mechanisms of doing it. One is doing it fully by correspondence, and the other mechanism is doing it in a classroom scenario. Now, obviously, we always recommend the classroom scenario, especially because your peers doing the exact same Advisor Academy will be within that classroom arrangement. But it all comes down to you. The correspondence one is substantially cheaper, but generally takes longer because of our number one enemy, procrastination. But in saying that, if you have the willpower to do it at home by yourself with no real distractions, get it done. We can still help you by ensuring that you are connected to other people doing it within the license, so you guys can work together to get the best possible outcomes and best possible learning outcomes for you. This DFP, as we're getting started, we can still work on the different elements with Advisor Academy. We're going to start sending you videos that would also reinforce your learnings from the DFP. We're going to start preparing you, and then as that DFP is going to come in towards a completion, generally about 3 months for those with zero sort of knowledge, with some hard work, we register your AR status, so we establish your own practice. Then we maintain the Advisor Academy through this process. Hopefully by the time the AR status is launched, you're ready to sign clients. We don't want to be in a position where you're paying for licensing fees and you're not signing clients. Not for our sake, but for yours. I want this to be profitable from day one. In fact, it will be regardless, because everything that is charged from cash flow and from return on investment, which we'll talk about in getting a lot of details. After our status is there, we launch. And beyond the launching, we're constantly managing and growing. How do we grow your business is every day's mantra in our office. How do we grow your firm? How do we make this a viable solution for you? So when the business is established, the clients are coming through, the support does not stop. Whether it be on a compliance level, strategy level, research level, sales level, coaching level, business partnership level, it is your business and we're your consultant. I want to go through and talk about what an actual client looks like revenue-wise. The average mum and dad client. Case studies, mum and dad. We target the mum and dad clients. I'd love to say that you don't have any high net worth clients, which is substantially greater in value. But I want to talk to you about the mum and dad clients and how it actually works. So the upfront fees are about $4,200. Now, depending on what you're doing for the client, generally this gets either done through a payment plan or can even be paid through superannuation in large part. Provided it's a sole purpose test, but that's part of your training. Beyond that, insurances. Life, TPD, income protection, trauma. The majority of those can go inside superannuation, some can go out depending on the tax benefits associated with them, and again the sole purpose test. But for two people, let's say the worst case scenario, we're looking for an insurance return is about $3,500 on upfronts. Now you could be a mortgage broker, you could be an accountant, but your excess revenue on that client is about $3,500 when including the mortgage broking or the accounting part. If you refer a property in the client's best interest, we are not a sales organization. If it fits the client's best interest and they require a property, you refer them to the investment arm, then the referral fee is at $15,000. The ongoing service, so this is up. That's all up there is the upfronts. The ongoing service is your trail, your recurring revenue. The ongoing service for financial planning clients is about $3,300 in ongoing service fees a year. An ongoing risk trail is about $350, so about 10% of the premium. And on the ongoing mortgage trail, let's assume $600,000, $500,000 property purchase, so that's $600 a year. So average return on investment for an upfront, the average client is at $11,200 upfront. That's your upfront fee, your insurance, your mortgage, and accounting. Compare that to a good ROI that's including a property in there based on the client's best interest. That's $16,200 as your upfront. Sorry, it's beyond that. I made that total mistake. It's not $16,200. It's $26,000. I'll fix that. Compare the ongoing service on top of that. It's an extra $4,250 a year. So a good client, $26,200 on average up front, and an average client, which is pretty much most of our clients, around the $11,000 mark on the upfronts, plus the $4,250, plus the equity. How does equity work? Again, I've explained through a bit of this, but an average accounting practice has 0.8 multiple on revenue. So if your book is worth $1 million, it's $1 million in recurring revenue on a yearly basis, then you can sell your accounting firm for $800,000. It barely seems fair, does it? A mortgage can go up to about 2.7 times in the best case scenario. So 2.7 times trial, if you have $1 million book, it's worth $2.7 million. Financial planning, it's about 3.2 multiple on recurring revenue. So if you've got a book worth $1 million, recurring revenue, then you get $3.2 million. Now there's additional trail multiples. So if you have an accounting practice and a financial planning practice, that trail increases. It doesn't become worth 4, it becomes worth 4.2 because the extra sticky thing that I talked about earlier. Sticky component. Beyond that, there's the EBIT multiple. Now this is what we're in the game for in financial planning. When your recurring revenue is equal to that of your operational costs, and you still bring in a regular amount of upfront revenue from your practice, then that EBIT multiple becomes worth times 7. So a times 7 EBIT multiple associated with the growth of that practice. Extremely important to understand that this is extremely viable when you're making $4,250 recurring revenue a year per client. If you're signing 100 clients a year, that's a $425,000 recurring revenue, enough to equate to a small practice's license fees. Operational cost per year. Then if your first year you've done 100 clients, second year you've done 100 clients, then you've got a profit guarantee associated with that. On a purely business level, besides the fact that we're only need to actually help the client, which is why you're accountants, which is why you're mortgages, which is especially why we're financial planners, to us that is. We're there to help the client, but on a commercial basis, the ongoing service trail is an extremely important part of our financial planning process. Now, for that, you've got to do a fair bit of work. We do anyway. Average client interaction. The first meeting is a fact-find meeting. After that, there's a research meeting. So research. Then it gets to compliance, then it gets to strategy. Then we go to compliance again. Then we do para planning, SOA check, SOA presentation, implementation, compliance again, ongoing management, then we audit. Step by step. Fact-find meeting. This is the first meeting that you will conduct. Signing the client up to get the services, but also getting all the background information. You will then send us a file note with a breakdown of what happened in the meeting so we can make an assessment of how to best improve them. We will then do the research. We'll find out everything about them, along with what the information you gave us was. We'll look through their past, look through the superannuation statement, look through everything. And after the research stage, we will audit ourselves. Extremely important to do this audit process multiple times throughout the process. This is where most people fall over. But if you've made a mistake at the start, you're going to miss it at the end. It's going to be too late. Because if the research has been done incorrectly, then the plan is based on incorrect research. You present the plan, do the audit, everything looks fine, and then we find out we had misinformation. We're in jail. Slight exaggerations may apply. But we do a compliance audit to ensure that we're on point. If there's something you've done wrong, we'll kick it back to you and tell you what we've done wrong, because we want consistency and the best quality for your sake and for the client's sake. After we do the audit, the compliance audit, it then goes to the strategy team, where, as I said, we have different specialists in key areas who do the strategy. We meet up on a Friday morning, we argue to an absolute blue in the face about each different solution to ensure that the client is getting the best possible outcome. And we're not concerned with improving their position. We were concerned with the opportunity cost of missing something, which is why we have specialists as opposed to 2 or 3 generalists. After the strategy is done, we do another audit. We ensure that the strategy is conducive with the client's best interest. Then we do the power plan. This is the writing of the document, the 80-page document that you will come to present. It explains where the client is, where they intend to be, exactly how we intend to get them there. After that document is done, the SOA, the statement of advice, you check it. Does it fall into line with what the clients want? And then you present it. After you present it, the client chooses to go ahead. We implement. We do an audit quickly again. Then we go to let you manage the client situation. And then we audit on a consistent yearly basis to make sure you're constantly at the highest caliber. Our audit is not an ASIC audit. We're not here to persecute you. We're here to make sure that everything is constantly above board, to make sure that we're safe and you're safe. Because as your licensee, we wear a ludicrous amount of liability to make sure we're of the highest standard. So trust me, we're both extremely aligned towards your best goals, and that is being upright and doing the right thing by your clients. All right. Pricing splits. First point to note, you own 100%. 100%. You own your client. It's all you. The admin fee. We charge an admin fee. So let's go back a slide here. Everything in this process, you are merely doing the fact find, and you are doing the SOA check and SOA presentation. And also managing that client's ongoing arrangement, which you'll be doing in your capacity as a mortgage broker and accountant regardless. So in all that process, you see the client in the fact find meeting with the skills that you now have to convert them into financial planning clients. And then you are checking the SOA to ensure that it's in the best interest of the client. And then finally, you're presenting the client with the statement of advice. Everything else is done. Obviously, you have a say to ensure that your client's best interest is maintained. You get to review an SOA, check the advice to make sure it's relevant and something that you would recommend, because obviously we want to make sure that you're comfortable with the strategy provided, and we are absolutely open to any feedback that you may have around that. But that's $3,200 is the top end. So if your client needs nothing complicated, nothing difficult, then that changes, but you'll get a pricing list based on how much the admin component is. I just figured if I gave you the worst case scenario, based on $11,000 ROI, you can make the assessment as to whether this is a profitable piece. There's standard aggregator fees, right? So that's on the next one, the dealer split associated with that. We have basically adopted the exact same license fees as our licensed partner, being Financial Link Group and Beacon Group. So they have worked hand in hand with establishing this license. We have not increased the license fees based on the support we give. We have not increased the license fees and split based on everything else. It is capped as each license fee should be. So you should be rewarded for your success beyond a certain point. But really compare them apples for apples against any other license fee, you're going to find they're quite reasonable. And the rest is yours, right? So you have your dealer fees minus the admin fee, and everything else is yours. The ongoing service is all 100% yours. You manage that relationship. We don't go touch any of that. And everything else after, your admin fee and your dealer splits, 100% yours. What's important to note, and I'll say this in the next slide, is that everything is taken from your revenue statements. So you're never cash flow negative. If you owe, let's say, $4,000 in admin fees or over that period of time, we're not going to ask you to come up with it now and then we'll take some more of your account later. Obviously, if you owe money for an admin fee, it's because you've signed a client, so there's revenue there. So we'll do all the work, wear the cost base on our end, until you actually have implemented the strategy, and in which case we'll take the money from there. This is extremely important to note, guys. Our history was that we started this company, it was very, very difficult. When you're doing a scale-based offering about growing 300 to 400% on a yearly basis, hard part is you're supporting the staff to deal with 120 to 200 clients on a monthly basis. Meanwhile, 3 months ago, you were dealing with 40 clients, 50 clients. So generally, there's a cash flow turnover about 2-3 months to get the money through the door. This is before our processes were very much improved. But you're still paying for those staffing fees, you're still paying for those fixed operational costs. So you're always at a cash flow struggle because now you're doing 300 people's worth of work, but getting paid for 120 as an example. And then you're not going to get that money for the 300 for 3 months from later, which you could be still growing. Our struggles meant that this infrastructure that we set up took a while. We're 8 years in this game. 8 years constantly building month in, month out. We've always had an element of success in bringing in clients, but to build the infrastructure is expensive. Our operational costs got to $400,000 a month just to break even, and the majority of that was all admin costs to keep up with the scale that we're trying to do. So why that's important is to notice you're not going to have to wear those same struggles we had. You're not going to have to worry about paying for admin stuff that don't have a return on investment allocated to them. Your goal is revenue, profit, client experience. You're that person. You're the rainmaker. Our job is instead to provide you everything that we have built for our internal structure to support your internal structure. 8 years becomes yours overnight in partnership with us. So firstly, there's the yearly advisor fee, like an aggregator fee. It's $12,000 per year. As I said, the second largest suit industry in the country. So a large part of that, as you understand, is professional indemnity insurance. We need to make sure you're covered, right? Because your professional indemnity is what keeps everybody safe. Step one. So the most this fee, all of this fee. Software licensing, capital fees is to keep up your CPD points, and training fees, right? The majority of that, in fairness, is PI. We are generally losing money on the training fee component, as you're about to find out based on what we're going to do with you. But this includes your everyday, keeping occupied. This is just to keep you at the basics, to make sure you're safe, to make sure you're educated, and to make sure you have the capacity to take on the world in the financial planning game. The dealer splits are consistent with performance, right? Essentially, the percentage is higher at the lower amount because obviously we're trying to encourage everyone's growth, but also we have to recuperate some kind of return on investment for what we're putting through. So if you're only at $100,000, you pay $12,000 off the back of it. But after you made $100,000 in revenue, it goes to 8%, 250 to 500, 6%, 500 to $1 million, 4%, $1 million to $2 million, 2%. Essentially, you build to the point where you cap out at $79,000 in dealer fees. And important to note there, $79,000 in dealer fees breaks out to mean that you have earned $2 million. So your return on investment in getting into this space is roughly $1.92 million. So that's not really a bad slog, right? But essentially the big difference for us, this is the same license split as licenses that don't do any of what we do. In fact, we've carbon copied it from our partner license. We haven't chosen to up the fees because quite frankly, we've been a financial planner under a license since our inception before we started this license, and what we decided is that we didn't want a license that gouged its successful planners. We wanted one that supported them because we want 400 planners doing $2 million a year as opposed to 70, 80, 800 planners doing $100,000 a year. We didn't want to gouge, we wanted to develop and build with you. And again, important note to take, all taken from revenue cash flow positive. What that means is you're never going to really fall into the black with us. If you're doing admin, it means because you got a fee. If you've got a dealer split, it means because you brought in income. So it's all relevant to making sure you get that right outcome. Next steps, again, it's a 3-month turnaround. Send in the EOI form. We do a face-to-face meeting. Me, you, or me, one of my colleagues, generally me and you. If you're interstate, we'll probably do that by Skype. If not, either I'll come down or you come down, depending on the nature of what we need. We enroll you in the course. This is separate to us. We'll basically give you the number for the person to go into. This is so you ensure that we're not pocketing money from the course. We're not here to try to get sneak fees from you guys. We've got someone we've negotiated down a cheaper rate for you, and this is extremely important because we want to limit the barriers of entry for you into this industry, which needs you guys. It's an aging industry. It needs blood who's willing and motivated to push the limits in terms of ensuring clients get advice. And then the Advisor Academy commences digitally. So when you've started your DFP, we start the Advisor Academy, and we're pretty much prepped and ready for launch. From here, guys, questions. Again, I'm sending the expression of interest form as part of this. You'll have the video, you'll have the expression of interest form. Give me an email. Give me a phone call, business hours, of course, on 416-803-555 or 1300-889-787. I know this sounds extremely professional, guys, but give me a text message, right? Just to say, Pete, really like to talk about this more. Can we book in a time for a phone conference? As you can understand, generally professional meeting takers in every single part of the industry. So a text message would mean I'll call you within half an hour to an hour, or at least respond back with an adequate time. We can organize a time to go face to face, and hopefully establish a path to integrating your firm as part of a greater firm. Not ours, but your greater firm. Really appreciate your time today, guys. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to give me an email, give me a text, give me a call. I'm constantly available and really looking forward to using our resources to help grow your firm. Take care, guys.